What's up, Vintage? Good afternoon to you also. I thought you were going to be offline for a while, but it's good to have you here. I just got off watching a stream from V1 Simulations. Was flying the level up. I wanted to see what he thought about it. Getting a couple of things ready here on my end in a very noisy Houston. I've noticed an X-plane. I don't know if you've flown into Houston much, but the environmental sounds in Houston are super loud. We are nearly ready here. Yep, that worked. Okay, so I can shut that down and that, and just kill the browser entirely. So we are flying from Houston Intercontinental to Knoxville, Tennessee in the Embraer ERJ145. I want to give this plane some more airtime. It's not study level yet, but I think X-Crafts want to get it there. For instance, there's no flex temp simulated, and there is no flex temp simulated, and there's a couple of other issues with the FMS holes, for example, are not simulated, and arced approaches are also not simulated in the FMS. So, crossing my fingers. You know, X-Crafts is a smaller developer, I think, probably with the smaller team, but I have my fingers crossed. So we are departing Houston on 15 left on the Lyric 8 departure, I believe it is. So we'll be runway heading, and then we'll vector ourselves to the Kentucky. I believe it's Kentucky, yes. We'll be vectoring ourselves to the Kentucky fix, which is the first fix of the departure. And heading on out northeast towards crossing into northern Louisiana and on into northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, and then into flipping the corner of Georgia and into Tennessee. We have a wheels up, wheels down of about hour 52 minutes at an air distance of 693 miles. Cruising altitude will be 350. Estimated takeoff weight 45.3 thousand pounds, which is about 8,000 below maximum. And landing weight 40,000 40.5 thousand pounds, which is about 3,500 below maximum takeoff weight. Weather in Houston's pretty good. Unbroken clouds, but runway conditions are dry, and we'll have winds are more or less coming out of the southeast, and flying into Knoxville, we will have planning for runway 23 as winds are more or less coming straight from that direction. No, in the opposite direction, as a matter of fact. Route's pretty straightforward. Lyric 8 with the Orth transition, then direct to Sierra, Quebec Sierra VOR, direct to Golf Quebec Oscar VOR, and then we'll have a look at the Knoxville charts to plan, which is either probably going to be an RNAV or ILS if it's available, into runway 23 right at Knoxville. 37 passengers out of a possible 50, giving us a payload of 9.4 thousand pounds, and taking on block fuel of 8.4 thousand pounds, of which 4.7 we plan to burn on the trip. Okay, let's jump into the cockpit. As you would expect from X-Crafts, phenomenal renderings. Plane looks amazing on the inside and out. Last piece of the puzzle that's missing for this to be a true top-of-the-line study level aircraft are some of the navigation things I talked about earlier. Before we go into preparing any of the overhead or the aircraft, we will jump into our AviTab and get our school bag together here for this class. Vis-a-vis the Navigraph charts. Grab the airport chart. We're already connected to VATSIM, and doesn't look like there's any traffic on the ground, and there's no ATC operating right now. We're departing on the Lyric 8. We'll go through the departure briefing a little bit later in the cockpit preparation. We'll get the Knoxville charts. No arrivals into Knoxville, so we'll have a look at the approach plates. So 23 right does have an ILS, so we'll pull that up, and we'll also grab the RNAV for runway 23. And maybe just one more chart left to do, which is the airport chart, which has the parking spots on it already, so that's good. Okay, so just having a look at the departure briefing here. Insofar as what the taxi is required, we're on the north side of Terminal Bravo, Bravo 88 stand, Bravo 88. Pushback, probably preparing for spot 16, and then taxiing out November Delta, November Bravo, and on to Whiskey Bravo, Whiskey Whiskey, or probably maybe even November Echo, November Bravo, November Echo, Whiskey Whiskey for 15 left, and on the departure, it'll be runway heading of 149 to 6,000. We'll maintain that heading before we make a pretty sharp left turn to go direct to Kentucky. The initial fix of the SID. MSA 3100, so that's typically get a at or above that. We'll start making our maneuvers to start heading northwest towards the Kentucky fix. On the initial climb, runway 15 left, 105 right, climb heading 149. Yeah, I heard they just dropped the 707 for a MSFS. Climb on heading 149 to 600, radar vectors to Kentucky. Our top altitude, it will be 16,000. And we have the ILS chart up for 23 right at Knoxville, but to tell you the truth, I kind of like flying the RNAVs. I think I'll go and choose the RNAV from Nylon, initial approach fix, as well as the initial fix. A Wokey being the final fix, so need to be fully configured for landing. Approach speed, landing flaps, and gear down by a Wokey at 2,800, Nylon at 3,500. MSA for runway 23 right is 7,900, and our glide path angle for the approach is 3 degrees, and we have a 1,184 feet for minimums. RVR 1,800 feet or half mile. But the weather conditions in Kentucky look just fine, so we should be good on those minimums. And taking a look at the missed approach, is a climb to 1,600, then continuing the climb to 3,000 direct to gross. So we'll climb out of the missed approach to 16,000 and then go direct gross, continuing the climb to 3,000 and going into a right-hand hold at gross. Touchdown zone elevation is just under 1,000 feet, 984 feet for 23 right. And let's go into the overhead. So we'll get the battery 1 and battery 2 to auto.
All unit okay.
Now this airplane goes through a bunch of tests here, and it'll dump an enormous amount of cautions at me, which is fine. We'll silence the alarm. So basically on the ICAS, it's saying that you know, because the hydraulic systems are not pressurized, there's no fuel pumps operating, that essentially all of our control surfaces are inoperable or showing a fail. So that's pretty standard for this airplane. And first thing we're going to do is, first of all the electrical switches are, this has a dark cockpit, similar to the Airbus. It's a dark cockpit philosophy. So all of the switches, which can be either showing a white bar or being blank, typically all need to be dark for normal flight. So there's 4 generators on the ERJ, excuse me, and they're all in the on position right now in anticipation of the engines starting to provide AC power. Bus ties are in auto. The shed bus is in auto. What we're going to do is we're going to take the number 2 avionics master and turn that on. And we'll silence that caution. That'll give us our multifunction display on the captain's side, which we're going to need. And we can go to the systems page and the electrical page, and you can see our 4 generators, our batteries. So battery voltages look good. And ESS 1 and ESS 2 are also shown on the electrical page. So slightly different layout. You know, most aircrafts have TR1, TR2, and ESS. So we will actually do a ground power connection here. So, which is you can put the ground objects on, even though they don't really simulate anything, to be honest with you. The plane will roll on an incline if the chocks are set, which is why we have the park brake set. And we'll ask for the GPU. See now GPU is available on the overhead, and we can see that the GPU is showing 28.5 volts, so that's good. We'll take that. And now we are on the GPUs on the bus. GPU will not charge the batteries, so only the APU will. So we're not going to be on the GPU for very long, but we can now open up avionics number 1. Get the rest of our screens together. I haven't flown this bird in a while, so I have the checklist ready to help me not miss anything critical. Going through the rest of the overhead, we will turn on the fuel pump number 2. And we're just getting a low pressure warning on the fuel. That's okay, we can silence that. And let's get the fire test done. Okay, ECAS warnings have come up and then they go away, so that is a good test. And APU to on for a few seconds. You gotta wait for this on the very, very bottom line of the ECAS. APU is at 0%. Switching the APU switch on the overhead to the on position will cause this yellow box to appear. That needs to appear first before you can go and start it. So start position for 2 seconds. And APU is on the rise. APU has also appeared, as you can see on our electrical page. Now it won't give us the voltage or amps because it'll until the APU is pushed onto the bus by virtue of disconnecting the GPU from the bus. So APU is at 100%. Exhaust gas temperature is settling down, so that's a good APU start. And we will now disconnect the GPU. GPU's off the bus, and we can see the APU providing 28 volts and 255 amps. The sign is this caution here, so this is a shed bus caution. So what we need to do is we need to override the shed bus. And now we're getting more amps out of the APU and sacrificing other systems downstream of the APU until we get full engine power. Go ahead and disconnect the GPU now. We don't need that any longer. Going through the rest of the overhead. Mission switches are on auto. The FADEC is interesting. We'll have a look at the FADEC and the takeoff data a little bit later in the cockpit preparation, once we get our V-speeds together for the departure. Engine start-stop switches are in stop position. That's good. Exterior lights. So we will put our nav light on. Beacon, strobe, and inspection light are all off. Landing lights are off, and taxi light is off. Hey, X-Plane Official, how are you? Thanks for dropping in. Oh, I love the sim. I've been almost 100% loyal to X-Plane since V10. I did, like probably everybody else in 2020, get MSFS because of all the hype, and to be honest with you, I probably shelved it after 3 months for various reasons, flight model being one of them. And honestly, I haven't gone back to MSFS in maybe, what's that, about 5 or 6 years. Really appreciate you dropping in, as giving a demonstration here on the X-Crafts ERJs, the V2s. We are probably about 50% through cockpit preparation. Okay, hydraulic pumps, we'll leave those off now because we're going to be pulling too many amps off of the APU, which is not all so powerful. Ice protection, engine wing and the vertical stabilizer, basically in the armed position, are on auto. Windshield heat, we'll put that on a little bit later in the preparation. And packs are off right now, so we will select the APU bleed now that we have it, and turn the packs on. Engine bleeds will be, we'll leave those off for the moment. I think X-Crafts are on a journey to probably true study level add-on aircraft. Right now, I think the ERJ is farther along that journey than the E-Jets, but I'm really holding out a lot of hope that Marcus, I think it is, and Steve over there at X-Crafts and the larger team will pull through. I'm really anticipating the V3 hopefully coming out before the end of the year, and with the implementation of holes and arc approaches in the FMS and on the LNAV, and also kind of combating their ILS engagement issues that they have on the E-Jets right now. So I think the V3 will be the landmark release for X-Crafts, where their E-Jets will be probably true study level, achievement. If V3 is a successful release, maybe they'll need a couple of updates after maybe V3.1 or V3.2 and the aircraft is there, but I really like the developer. Their renderings and the renderings of the airplane's exterior and interior are really top of the line. So just that little piece of the puzzle missing with the systems, and they're right there. Okay, so the overhead is done for the time being. We got our school bag together. We'll go down to our FMC and get our position initialized. So GPS 1 should always cross-reference this against the airport chart. So Houston is north 2959 west to 9520. 2959, 9520, so we're good there. We'll load that. I really like the this Honeywell FMS that they've simulated for the ERJ But if this is a true representation, I'm sure it's extremely accurate to the real thing. But it's a very, very intuitive, wonderfully ergonomic FMS. Obviously quite different from the Airbus and the Boeing FMSs. Yeah, you're very welcome. I appreciate the question, and yeah, I'm going to be candid. You know, they're almost there. I think V3 of the E-Jets. I think I'm crossing my fingers that, and from what I've read from their newsletters, that V3 is really going to solve a lot of maybe of the grievances of other users may have. Been reporting in the forums and whatnot, but I think they're a great developer. Their customer service is phenomenal, and yeah, they really help explain. They really help kind of promote X-Plane for being, you know, what I believe is the, you know, true top simulator for aviation. Okay, so we have our sim brief plan already selected here. We just have to type in our file name. So Kilo India Alpha Hotel going to Kilo Tango Yankee Sierra with a 01 after that. And just before I accept any of that, just go through Kentucky PD. Okay, so it's got the SID in there. Yep, that is the correct flight plan. We'll go and activate that. So, looking at the departure as we prepare the FMS for the route, we also want to make sure that the fixes for the SIDS and the STAR, any altitude and speed constraints are coming up in the FMS legs accurately. So, on this SID, we don't have any constraints on any of the fixed points for either speed or altitude, other than the top altitude of 16,000 and the 250 knots below 10,000 feet. So we'll go ahead and clear that message. Departure 15 left on the Lyric 8. To Orth, and activate that. So we do have the 600 or above altitude, which is one of, I suppose it is a constraint, but it's not a fixed constraint on departure. And we do have a discontinuity before Kentucky. That's okay. We're going to vector ourselves there anyway, provided there's no ATC that's going to come online on VATSIM. And we'll go and plan our arrival. Now, we don't have any standard terminal arrival chart for Knoxville, so we're going to go straight into the approach page, and we're going to select the RNAV for runway 23, right, and we're going to take it from Nylon, and LPV will select yes, so that's good. Activate that. And we'll go and cycle through the points here. trying to remember how to cycle through the points on this. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Oh, that's right. I gotta go to plan mode first, and then use the compass marker out here on the left-hand side. So there's 15 left, runway heading to the vector point. We'll vector ourselves to Kentucky and out on the SID to Lyric, concluding at Orth, direct Sierra, Quebec, Sierra VOR, Golf, Quebec, Oscar VOR, and then we have the Nylon approach. Zooming in a little bit closer. Awoki, which is our final fix. Zivzu and runway 23, and it even has the missed approach path as well, so that's good. Happy with that. Go back to map mode. Okay, route is done. We've got the aircraft boarded with passengers. Go and take a look at our weight and balance page. Looking at our SimBrief flight plan OFP, rounding it to the nearest 100 pounds. Our zero fuel weight is 37,200 pounds. Our fuel weight is 8,400. Takeoff weight 45,600. It'll actually be a little less than that because we're going to have APU fuel burn and as well as taxi fuel burn. We'll go and load the aircraft and go back to our FMS, perf in it, and cycle through the pages here. Page 105, that page looks fine. Climb, cruise, and descent speeds look good to me. Won't have to worry about step increment or fuel reserve. Takeoff landing fuel 400, that's fine. Transition altitude 8,000, our initial cruise is 350. It auto-populates the average wind speeds. It doesn't auto-populate the ISA dev, which is plus 11, and I don't think you can manipulate it here. No, you cannot. Okay, so we'll go to page 505. Fuel, 8,400. Giving us a gross weight of 45,694, which is close enough. Go and confirm that. Perf data, so we are 1 hour 56 minutes estimated time en route, requiring 5,000 pounds. SimBrief said 4,735, so that's quite close. $737 track miles. Quite close to the SimBrief plan as well. Expecting 3.4 thousand pounds of fuel remaining. Average cruise winds. All the fuel looks good there. And page 4 looks good also. So let's go through our takeoff performance now that we have all the passengers on board and the weights on board as well. So Kilo India Alpha Hotel, departing from 15 left. Condition is dry. These are the X-plane weather data here. So winds are 160 at 7 knots. Outside air temperature is 33, dew point 23, and multifunction display is also showing 33. That's good. QNH altimeter is 3001. Takeoff weight 45,600. So what we can do here is take a look at our zero fuel weight plus the fuel is 45,600. So we'll say about 45,450 for fuel burn before the takeoff. Do takeoff 1 and flaps 9. I'm okay with that. Okay, flaps 9, runway 15 left, takeoff gross weight 45,450 pounds, V1 131, rotate 135, V2 139, and slats retracted speed of potentially 168. Onto the takeoff init pages. Runway 15 left, heading 150. It's actually 149, but that's okay. Outside air temperature is accurate. Winds look okay. Field elevation looks fine. Runway condition is good. Runway slope is okay. That's all okay. Flaps 9. Takeoff weight, I'm going to be a little lighter, but that's fine. Confirm that. Now, what kind of sets this airplane apart from your 737s and your Airbuses is takeoff data and the FADEX. So what we have to do is we've got to go down to our multifunction display, go hit the systems button and then the takeoff button, and you can see engine takeoff mode, takeoff 1, that's consistent. Ref temperature, so flex temp is not simulated, so we will just be putting in the ambient air temperature and anti-ice settings. So what's kind of unusual here is we go here and we click this store button on the overhead under takeoff data, and now all of these values have turned amber, and we have this arrow on the right hand side saying this is the line you're on. So takeoff 1, we're okay with that. We hit the store button and it jumps down to the next line. Takeoff ref was going to be the same as the ambient temperature, so 15 degrees right now and it's 33 ambient, so we got to add 17 more. On 38, I got 5 too many. And there we go, 132, 133, there we go, that's right. And we'll go and store that. And anti-ice will be off departure, we'll store that. Now our FADEC knows what our takeoff performance is. So we got the weights on, we got the weather, do we have the weather yet? Don't think we do. 3001. Okay, overhead looks good. We're nearly getting close to pushback. We got the weight, perf init is done. Weight weather is done. Cockpit preparation checklist. Maintenance status checked. Cockpit emergency equipment checked. Overhead panel is checked. Hydraulic panel pump 3A is off. That is checked. Passenger oxygen panel has been checked. The ELT is not simulated, so we'll say it's armed. Landing gear lever is down. That is checked. Throttles are idle. That is checked. Speed brake is in the closed position. Flaps are set to 0. Those are all checked. Circuit breakers are checked. Pre-flight checklist. Preparation panel is going to be set now. We will just get our landing altitude, which I believe was just under 1,000 pounds. Touchdown zone elevation 984, so we'll set that to 1,000. Pressurization panel is set there, and pneumatics look good for the time being. Oxygen masks. Checked. Flight instruments. Altimeter 3001 on standby, and 3001 on the first officer side. Flight instruments checked. Bus lever is idle, checked. Park brake is on, that is checked, and the ACARS. Put our squawk code in here, 2440. That's right, I gotta put that on the radio page here. 2440. UCAS range is fine. We'll go from standby to TARA. Get the CTAF frequency for Houston Intercontinental. $25.35. Is set. Cockpit, our pre-flight checklist is complete. Let's go and plan our pushback here. From Bravo 88. Get us out here to, which I believe is spot 16. Don't know if it's shown that way.
Ground to cockpit. Plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
Detach the jetway. Beacon light on.
Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
Windshield heat on. Force our checklist. Trim panel is set.
Okay, all doors and hatches are
Pitch
closed.
trim up is 8.
Ready to connect.
And rudder trim is neutral. MCDU has been checked and set. Fuel quantity. 8,360 pounds, which is good. That's
Release
checked.
parking brake when ready to start pushback.
Houston Intercontinental traffic, commuter 4833 pushing back from Bravo 88. Houston Intercontinental traffic. That's right, the toe brakes don't release the park brake in the Embraers. At least not in the X-Crafts Embraer. Also have to ditch the cosmetic ground objects. Gonna pull us forward for a little bit and then they're gonna drag us back.
Starting pushback, and you may start engine.
Fuel quantity has been checked. Taxi and takeoff braking has been completed. Doors and windows are closed. The transponder is TARA. That is checked. Flight deck door is locked. Passenger signs. Oops.
Once again, welcome.
Forgot the old passenger signs.
We are creating the most flyer-friendly aircraft, and it's our sincere hope that you have a pleasant experience with us today. At this
Beacon
time,
is
I would
on.
like to review
Hydraulic
some of
pump
the safety
3A
features
can go to on now.
Please refer to the safety information card located in the seat pocket in front of you. You can follow along as I point out the airplane's safety features. There are 4 clearly
Actually, that's for the excuse me. That's for the E-jets. I'm using an E-jets checklist.
And 2 window exits
Better than none.
Take a moment to locate the exit nearest you, keeping in mind that the closest usable exit may be located behind you. In the event of an emergency, this aircraft is equipped with floor path lighting located along both sides of the aisle, which will guide you to the exits indicated by lighted exit signs. In the event of a water
Okay, we're gonna
landing,
start up engine 2 first. We get our electrical page back up.
pull it up and away from the seat spring, and put your arms through the straps on the underside of the cushion. Then rest your upper body on the cushion. Several aviation
Engine
regulations
2
require
to the run
compliance
position.
with all lighted signs, posted placards, and crew member instructions. Federal law prohibits smoking in the
Start.
aircraft cabin and lavatory at any time. Tampering with
No, N2 on the rise.
destroying a lavatory smoke detector is prohibited. To fasten your seatbelt, insert the metal clip into the buckle. To tighten, pull on the loose end of the strap. To release,
That's
lift up
okay.
on the faceplate of the
We
buckle.
can silence that caution.
Ensure your seatbelt is fastened
Just telling us again that we haven't,
illuminated. Also, for your safety,
we have no hydraulic power hit, but we will have it in a moment.
In the event you encounter unexpected
Okay, Gen 3, Gen 2, and Gen 4 are all looking good on the electrical system down the bus.
Operation complete. Set
Pull
parking
the
brake.
mask out of the clip. Then
Park
pull
brake
the
set.
mask to your face.
Now we can
Connecting to
Stand
stand
give
by.
ourselves hydraulic power.
When placing the mask over your nose and mouth, secure it with the elastic band and tighten the
And
tab on the
get
side.
engine
Even
1
though
started.
oxygen is flowing, the plastic
Run
bag
position,
may
gotta
not
leave it there for a
appear
few
to inflate.
seconds.
If you're sitting with someone needing assistance, put your mask on
And
first,
start.
then offer assistance. In preparation for takeoff, please check the
N2 is on the rise.
securely fastened low and tight, that your tray table is up and dry, and seat backs are in their upright position. All carry-on items need to be placed beneath the seat in front of you, and large portable electronic devices need to be turned off and stowed. Small lightweight devices must be switched to airplane mode and secured. In a moment I will be dimming the cabin lighting for departure. Individual reading lights are located above your seat, as well as your flight attendant call button. We thank you
To
for
get
your
engine
attention.
starts, we'll
If you
disconnect
can
the
make
tug
your
and
flight
remove the
more
gear pin.
enjoyable, please let us know. We will be airborne shortly.
Engine bleeds can go on. APU bleed off. And we'll stop the APU. APU powering down.
Hose disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the right. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
Great sounds on this plane as well. Okay, we got the signal. Do a flight control test here. We'll have to release the gust lock, which releases the yoke column. There we go. Pull up, check. Pull down, check. Aileron left. Aileron right, check. Rudder left. Rudder right. Flaps, takeoff. Flaps 9 confirmed. After start checklist, flaps set, checked, flight controls have been checked. ECAS, we got the A1 perf warning, but that's going to go off once we release the park brakes. And dispatch clearance. Nothing doing on VATSIM. We'll go and make our announcement to CTAF. Houston Intercontinental traffic. Commute Air 4833 is taxiing to runway 15 left via November Delta, November Bravo, November Echo, and Whiskey Whiskey. Houston Intercontinental traffic. Okay, so taxi lights on. Nope, not that one. Not that either. Click spots are a little dodgy. Release the park brake. There we go, our no messages on the ICAS. Now let's get our flight mode control panels squared away. We're good to 10,000. That is set. There's no auto throttle on this airplane. We just have TRS's thrust rating selections. Things are pretty quiet in Houston right now. We are November Delta, November Bravo. Yeah, clear on the right, clear on the left. Back to the FMS is selected. Runway heading is 149er. That's set. Clear on the right, clear left. The heading mode. plane flies really well also. I really like the flight model in it. And also that kind of extra challenge over the other more sophisticated aircraft where you don't have... Got to be aware of my situation here. That's November Foxtrot, so November Echo. With the lack of the auto throttle is quite enjoyable. So we can see we are in takeoff 1 right now. So that is the TRS. There's a TRS panel down here. You can see the thrust rating, takeoff, continuous climb and cruise. So this should be Echo. That's actually November Romeo. They stuck Romeo between Echo and Foxtrot. Let's double check VATSIM. No controllers. Okay. Clear right, clear left. You know what? I don't think I sent my V-speeds to the computer. Or to the PFD, I mean. Yeah, there they are. Okay. So we got V1 131, rotate 135, and V2 139er. About 10 minutes late for the takeoff departure. We are clear on the right and looks clear on the left. Houston Intercontinental traffic, commute air 4833 lining up and departing 15 left from Whiskey Whiskey. Houston Intercontinental traffic. Going strobe. Inspection lights, landing lights, taxi lights already on. Thought there was a... Oh, I know what I gotta do. I remember now. So heading 149. We'll take 150 right now. Gotta hit the toga button to get the flight director ready. Okay. Stabilized. Takeoff thrust is set. 80 knots. Rotate. for the break. Go. And TRS to climb. Up. Heading. And we'll do a direct to Kentucky. Recycle the direct to. The autopilot now. And we will select speed to climb. Which is really their, I think it's a closer, even though they have a flight level change here, I think speed seems to be more characteristic of the and we're gonna continue past 10,000 since it doesn't look like there's a lot of traffic on the ICAS, if any. Get our speed up to 250. Tidy up the lights, all the outside landing lights off, taxi light off. Some issues with the LNAV, but you see it more in the E-jets. Sometimes direct twos really cause kind of a glitch to the lateral navigation, but so far so good right now. To frequency. We don't need to be on the CTAF any longer. It's really wonderful, wonderful soundscape on the outside as well. The airplane performs better sometimes on a slightly lower indicated airspeed on the climb. But it'll once we hit Mach 6 or Mach decimal 6, it'll switch that to the target climb out speed. Takeoff checklist. Flaps are up. Landing gears up. Pressurization. Looks very good. Cabin altitude is 2,000 feet. Delta P is 6.5 pounds per square inch. And cabin is climbing at a rate of 650 feet per minute. Past 18,000. We'll continue our climb up to our cruising altitude of 350 and standard barometric. 9,000 left in the climb for cruising altitude. To level off at 350. That will be the final cruise altitude. We are going to bring our speed up to Mach .75. And we'll keep keep the TRS and climb right now. The ITTs look fine. We don't have auto throttle here, even though we do have a bit of a VATSIM. We're going to have to adjust our throttle hardware controller to find that perfect equilibrium for our Mach cruise speed. Set the TRSS to cruise. So the engines have backed off a bit now. We're back to N1 of about 90, just over 90%. And this, even at this rating, this could probably have it climb into an overspeed, or beginning to exceed. We're going to have to pull back just gently on the throttles. More. Back to Mach 7.5 because I want to leave a bit of headroom. I think we'll settle on that. It might drop us down to, this should get us between Mach 0.74 and 7.5 at this thrust setting. Tiny bit of asymmetry in the thrust, which I'm just fixing right now. There we go, 82.9 on both engines. Sit back and enjoy the flight in an Embraer Regional ERJ145 on its way to Knoxville, Tennessee. Is the DC4 a new, is that a new release in Microsoft? Just for the wind speed changes. Page here. From top of descent, about an hour and 16 minutes. I think that's probably a little bit pessimistic, actually. And one is where I need to be. Do an old flyby. Looks like a dart. Crossing Orth now, concluding the SID. See how accurate the simulator is. It has my gross weight right now at 43,513. We have 6160 on the fuel. Let's say 6100 at this stage. That's 43,300. It's a little bit high, but it was a little bit high before we took off. much to do here in cruise, we can go and actually start preparing our landing numbers. So we're anticipating 3,100 pounds of fuel at Knoxville. That would give us a Vintage, have a good one, brother. Thanks for dropping in. Have a good day at work. And we'll see you in the skies again soon. We got a QNH 3004. And 3,100 plus the zero fuel weight gives us 40,300. Just above, just slightly below our estimated landing weight on the operating flight plan. Flaps 22, that should be okay. And looking at, we got 10,000 foot runway, so we have absolutely loads of runway. Our minimums 1184. Actually, you can only set I think you can only set it at a radio altitude 200, so that's already set. just a fraction here. No auto throttle in this airplane, so we gotta monitor our Mach speed very closely. connecting Navigraph to VATSIM radar. So, as I was saying, we're about 135 miles from ATC range with Atlanta Center. Conveniently, provided they stay online, they control Knoxville airspace, so that's promising. How long have they been online for? Been online for an hour and 8 minutes, so I think that bodes quite promising for us. Atlanta Center has dropped off the network. actually going to begin an initial descent earlier than the top of descent, which doesn't look like it was calculated too well in the FMS. I can see here that gross is gross is where we go into a hold after a missed approach procedure. Right around 100 miles out from the field, we'll begin a fairly shallow descent of around 200 feet per minute. With respect to the RNAV, an island, we need to be at 3,500 feet. MSA altitude is 7,900. Will be due to the mountain ranges off to the east. Estimated fuel remaining is 3,100 at Knoxville. We currently have 4,400, so another 1,300 left in the burn. so there's nothing specially published on the Knoxville airport chart about the traffic pattern. So that would mean that the traffic pattern for Knoxville is left, which is the FAA standard. Performance, all those figures look okay. We'll do a quick recheck on the weather in Knoxville. And we'll also get the CTAF frequency. So, Knoxville weather, winds 2707, 10 miles visibility, few clouds, 4,700, scattered, 9,500, broken, 25,000, temperature 33, dew point 21, QNH is 3001, distant lightning north into northeast of the field. Clouds distant northeast and distant southwest. CTAF frequency 121.2. That is set. Are 2707. QNH went to 3001, I believe. Indeed. And landing weight's the same. So we can either send those to the PFD or we can do it manually by going to speeds, and the approach is going to be 135. And that is set. For 130, winds are below 10 knots, and we will have probably about a 5 knot headwind, and maybe around a 4 knot crosswind. Off of the right. to synchronize our heading right now. And 5 miles from Gulf Quebec Delta, we'll go into heading mode. We're now in heading mode. What's up, Gerald Jones? Welcome. How you doing today? Glad you could drop in. Just gonna begin our initial descent as of right now. We'll get our altitude down to a 290 and select speed and reduce our throttles. Good one. Always good to be off work. Set a course heading to 060. And we're going to try to maintain decimal 7 on the descent here. What yoke did you get? Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Good luck with the upgrade. Oh, yes. You were getting the honeycomb throttles as well. For with 3D print some levers for 4-engine or 3-engine ops. Actually, we're in a good position to continue our descent down to 7,000. Nothing doing in VATSIM for Knoxville. Out of Mach now and target 270 for the descent. be exiting left and coming in on taxiway Bravo and Tango and Alpha, but we might just do Bravo Tango, bypass Alpha and go straight into the apron via Romeo 1. Opposite runway is heading 050. So we'll make our turn to 050 now to run up the parallel. Crosswinds are 20 knots, so we'll get knocked to the right a little bit. Okay, we're heading 050. Throttles back a bit more now to idle cruise. Altimeter setting will now go to 3001. Set and set on both sides. Continue down to 10,000. 10,000 to set. We do have the airfield in sight. Altitude on the missed approach is 3,000. And we'll be setting our minimums to 1,200 barometric. Now we'll dial our speed back to 240. I find the speed mode in the Embraer here, the ERJ, even though there's a flight level change option, I think the speed mode option is much more representative of the flight level change in the 737, and even though it's not called flight level change in the Airbus, but rather open descent. passenger seatbelt signs on. MSA is 7,900. Those are the Smoky Mountains up to the east. We'll continue our descent down to 8,000. Can come on. Okay, approved. Checklist, altimeters set, passenger signs on, approach checklist is complete. We'll slow down to 210 knots. Island is at 3,500. Continue down to 6,000. Switch over to the CTAF frequency for Knoxville. And we're just passing Nyland. We're just level with Nylon on the downwind, so we will select our new target altitude of 3,500. Nylon being the initial approach fix, and we should be LPV capable. Got 3,300 to go. Fully configured by a Wookiee, but flaps 20 will be landing flaps, gear down, and final approach speed of 135. Fuel is a little heavier than we anticipated by about 500 pounds, so we could even go and do a quick on the figures here. V approaches remain unchanged, VREF is unchanged, and landing distance has increased only a tiny fraction. We'll start making our turn left to Nylon now. We'll first make a left turn to 310. Knoxville traffic, commuter 4833 making a left turn onto base for runway 23 right, Knoxville traffic. Turn off the rudder radar. Flaps 9. And reduce our speed to 200. And heading 260, excuse me. To Nylon and nav mode. Okay, so that's good. Leveling off at 3,500, we're going to bring our speed way down now. Start preparing for our final approach configuration. Get it down to 150. You know, we'll actually leave it at, I'm actually going to speed it up a bit. It's a bit too early. Put it at 170 for the time being. Looks like the glide path is armed. And we'll go and set our minimums now of 1,200 target altitude. field just about in sight through the haze on this hot and humid day in Knoxville. Is 2,800. We do have a magenta glide path bug, which is consistent with the LPV. Get our speed down to final approach speed 135. Ooh. Don't know where the LNAV is taking us there, as our Wookiee was next.
Autopilot. Autopilot.
So we're going to have to take this over and fly visually. Flaps 18. And we'll get rid of the flight director. Knoxville traffic, commute air 4833 is on the visual for runway 23 right, about 10 miles to go, Knoxville. Flaps 22 is final, and gear down. Get the aircraft trimmed. Gotta get it trimmed for our final approach speed. We don't even have the bug helping us here for the glide slope. Fast. Poppies look good. Knoxville traffic, commuter 4833 is on a short final for 23 right, Knoxville.
approaching minimums. $100, $50, $40,
Whoa, what are the poppies doing there?
$20.
The threshold is
10.
up here. Well, that was, that's a bit of a death trap. And this runway is quite undulated. So the poppies were taking us to the displaced threshold. So left on Bravo, right on Tango. Stroke can come off. Whoa, but this is a bit of a crazy default airport for Knoxville. Look at this. It's like a roller coaster. This should be Tango for us. Happy lights taking us down to the displaced thresholds. There we go. Can you imagine that happening to you in real life? Knoxville traffic, commute air is crossing runway 5 right at Tango, Knoxville. Looks like we are clear right, clear left. Romeo 1. The APU started. Click zones are a bit of a nightmare sometimes. We have the police waiting for me again. This is becoming a bit of a theme. Knoxville, which Gateway Airport could do with a bit of TLC. We have APU, engines off, hydraulics off, fuel pumps off. We had a very interesting approach there. 144 feet per minute, 233 knots, so it was about 2 knots too high. But quite a bit left of the center line, to be honest with you. And this is where this left-hand turn here is where the lateral navigation failed, and we had to fly it visual, but we got it down. We'll take a quick peek of it on the replay. The wind affects this light little plane quite a lot, and it's kind of why I enjoy flying it. Disconnect from VATSIM here. Toggle replay mode, and yeah, here's the poppy lights again. So poppy lights taking us down to a displaced threshold.
Approaching minimums.
Quite controversial. So the landing looks a bit ridiculous as I try to avoid the displaced threshold. I'm surprised I didn't actually stall the airplane. It's like, oh, this is a displaced threshold. I can't land here. I don't think I even got it to the threshold either. Got close. Yeah, just before the threshold. Anyway, Gerald, I'm going to be signing off this one. Enjoy the honeycomb. Take a while to get that set up and get your profiles and curves all sorted out. But thanks for dropping in as ever, and appreciate you could be learn that the poppies in Knoxville actually guide you down to a displaced threshold. So we learn something every day. Have a good one, brother.